We can't tell right now because I know our correspondent Joe Khalil is inside. The last we saw of him, he was locked down as well, as are every reporter in that area. We're trying to find out what's happening inside, but the last we saw from inside, police were doing their best to clear the inside of the Capitol building of these protesters. There were shouts, orders to leave the building. In fact, we have Joe Khalil right now, who's going to join us on the phone. Joe, again, the question to you, where are you right now and what's happening?
So I, along with Mike Fessler, our photographer, we are in a basement room of the Capitol. It feels like a boiler room. We were with a number of other reporters. There were staffers in this hallway, and we could feel that the situation was getting a little bit more tense. And eventually we saw probably 20 or so police come through. These are Capitol Police who had been injured. Some of them we saw, facial scratches, and some were bloody. And then we heard over the radio traffic as these officers were communicating that somebody had been shot. Now, that's not a confirmation of anything that we can't really confirm, and I don't want to speculate as to what happened, but that's what we heard. And at that moment, the Capitol Police officers basically told everybody in that hallway to move as quickly, get out of this area, head down toward Rayburn, which is a different House office building here adjoined to the Capitol, and just get somewhere safe, have each other's backs, and keep your eyes out. So that was a hectic moment, and I'm with again our photographer here and two other reporters. We walked away and we found this boiler room situation that we're at now. My phone is dead. Apologies to the managers if they're trying to get a hold of me. But we've just been here and sort of talking about what we would do in the event that something crazy here happens and that reaches us. We heard just before then that the House floor had been breached, and also that the Senate floor had been breached. So there are protesters all throughout this building, we assume, and that was the last we had heard. I can't tell you, probably 30, 40 minutes ago. I'm not sure where any of them are, but we are just hunkered down, waiting to hear that it's okay to leave.
Can you hear me? Okay, Joe, can you hear me now? This is Nicole.
Yes.
You said when you first started talking that you could feel the situation getting more tense. So obviously all eyes were on the Capitol today. There was supposed to be the certification of the Electoral College vote. But talk about what was happening, and then when you could tell things were getting more tense. Just describe when things started to change.
Well, it started when we heard that Cannon, I got a tip actually that Cannon, which is another office building attached to the Capitol, was being evacuated. So Mike and I left our area and went to go check that out. And it was there, once we got to that area, that officers said, we are in lockdown. You are not able to leave this area. So we couldn't get back to where we came from. And that's sort of, we sat not sure what was happening. Probably within that 20 or 30 minutes or so, we're seeing videos come through on our phones of what's happening outside. We realize that there are protesters that are, edging closer and closer to getting into the Capitol. And then you could really see it on the faces of the officers, frankly. There were some that were more calm, and then you had a different environment where they started to get a little more hectic, and they were moving faster and running to certain places instead of walking. It was that point we kind of knew it was getting more serious. And then we heard the breach, and at that point it became pretty clear that what we're going through now is not a routine security situation here.
And Joe, you saw with your own eyes that there were injured officers, correct?
I saw as officers were coming into the basement, they had some faces were bloody, some had red streaks across their faces that looked like either they had been hit with something or that it was potentially, tear gas or something along those lines. But definitely officers were hurt, a number of them. And we talked to an officer specifically who said she's got to clear an area because they needed space to treat some of the wounded officers.
Joe, we also heard that they were passing out gas masks to some of the members of Congress. Were you able to see any of that? I know there was talk of some of them being evacuated with gas masks on.
I didn't see any of that, but that would not surprise me. What I did see was, again, as as the situation started to get more tense, that it wasn't just media in the hallway running away or trying, walking away. It was members of Congress that you recognize and that you see and that you've interviewed before, some of them walking with us. I saw staff members from some high-level congressional offices, and then I saw, as we said, members. So I didn't see any specifically with gas masks on, but it was all of us. It was media. It was actual members of Congress, our elected officials, not sure what was happening around them, walking off the House floor as we were walking with them to try to just get to a place that was safe.
And Joe, what are you feeling right now? I mean, for us to be sitting here watching this, we're in Chicago, we're watching this happen in D.C., it really does seem surreal. For you to be inside of the Capitol right now, what are you thinking? What are you feeling?
It's really just a sense of disbelief. And I'm not going to get political with our responses here, but it's a sense of disbelief that, we've gotten to a point where this is something that is a reality. I just, frankly, you come to work at the Capitol every day, and, there's always, the possibility that this is a high-level target for something like a terrorist attack, and, that's what you think is the worst fear, right, when you work in the Capitol or in a place where there are a number of elected officials. This situation was something that I've never imagined, even a couple of months ago, even as there were big, large protests in Washington, D.C. and other cities. You just